Okay, well, to conclude my Blade Trilogy review, it was time for me to review Blade Trinity. Now, admittedly, this is by far my least liked entry into the series. And it doesn't just come from the fact that I absolutely hate Ryan Reynolds and I find him absolutely annoying, but there's also some serious problems with Blade Trinity. And there's also some amazing parts in it as well. Very common for the third movie to not be as well received, and in this case, it plays pretty much the same as it always does. It's just a very inferior product to the other three movies or the other two movies. But despite all this, Blade is still fucking amazing to watch, and Snipes is incredible as always in this, and it really holds the movie together, in my opinion. But there are some other really excellent parts of this movie. There's some thoroughly compelling scenes. For starters, Dominic Purcell as Count Dracula is fantastic. He's a joy to watch, and I think that he does an absolutely brilliant job of bringing the character to life. There's something mysterious about him, and he just has that presence of power all about him. And him and Blade really hit it off, which is excellent. Overall, it's a fun watch, but its downsides cannot be ignored. I mean, Reynolds is annoying, unbelievable as the character he's trying to portray. Uh, Jessica Biel, she's pretty good and she's kind of an interesting character. But I mean, other than that, I would say that there's certain things that about this movie that are just kind of a turnoff and could have been done better, and it feels fairly cheap in some sections. But like the other two reviews I did on the Blade trilogy, there's a scene in this movie that I have to talk about, and it's my favorite scene in the entire movie. And it is, of course, when Blade takes on Count Dracula. Now, the setting for this scene is epic. He's has this rivalry going on with the Ultimate Vampire. It's his ultimate battle. You know it's going to be epic. It starts off epic. It goes on epic. It's just fucking awesome. It's sweet to see these two characters who seem to even have a little bit of rivalry going on between the two actors themselves. Both powerful, macho type men. He talks of honor. Dracula is a great character in this. I love him. And it just overall is a great scene. And the only problem with it is it keeps flashing between the different fight sequences with the Jessica Biel's character and Reynolds' character, and it would have been great if this was all just one sequence. Then we could have just focused on all of just this. But I mean, in general, it's a great battle sequence, and when Dracula transforms, it gets even more epic because he's truly terrifying looking, and they did a great job of showing it. And I want it to be known that Triple H, Paul Levesque, he's a great actor. I mean, you wouldn't even have guessed that he was a wrestler from this. He took on the role just so brilliantly, and he's a very competent actor. And I think he just absolutely nails the role of the big tough vampire enforcer in this. But I mean, there are parts where this movie is thoroughly cheapened by some of the acting. Some of the acting, even by from the good actors, is corny. Some of the dialogue is senseless. Some of the scenes are just kind of cringeworthy, and at parts it's good, and at parts it really falters. And I think that shone through in the just general dislike that people got from this movie. But I mean, you're talking about Blade, so I mean, Snipes instantly takes this to the next level just because he's so awesome. So it's a movie we have to talk about because although there's some parts of it that are unenjoyable, Blade is such an incredible character that you have to also take that with any downsides with a grain of salt. Because I mean, you get Blade in his full form here, and that instantly bumps it up many notches. And it goes to show that, I mean, we could have had more Blade from this, but I mean, this movie ended on a pretty decent cliff note. It sealed off the trilogy as good as it could be, and I mean, for what it is, Blade Trinity just generally works, despite all its downsides. I mean, we couldn't do this review without talking about one of the greatest downsides of this movie, the comic relief, Ryan Reynolds. Now, say what you will about Ryan Reynolds, I generally think he's a very dislikable person. He's very annoying in the movies he's in, and he takes it up to a whole new level in this movie because he feels completely inauthentic. His acting is terrible. His comic relief is totally unwanted and unwarranted and feels totally out of place in this movie. Even when he's making a straight face, he's trying to make jokes, and it really doesn't fit the narrative. It really doesn't fit the movie, and the movie would have been better if it was just Beale and no Ryan Reynolds. And isn't it actually hilarious that it's officially known that Wesley Snipes absolutely hated Ryan Reynolds on set, and it really goes to show that there was probably a lot of tension between him, because in many ways Reynolds did tamper the show and make it a little bit less, just his general presence alone. But there's other great actors in this movie. Reynolds may have brought it down many notches, but Parker Posey, the Danica chick vampire, is fucking fantastic. The way her face looks, the way the way she does it with her face, she's a thoroughly compelling vampire evil woman, and there's good actors in this, but I want it known that Ryan Reynolds was an absolute mistake for this movie, and most movies in general. Kind of despise the guy, honestly. But if you take Blade Trinity with all its downsides and you just kind of recall to yourself that, you're watching a Blade movie, there's other characters that you don't like, but you know what? There's action, there's cool themes, there's interesting moments. Blade Trinity is a good watch. I would put it down in the 6 range for as far as a rating, just simply because it's not a really enjoyable rewatch. I mean, I watched it for the first time in a bit, and I have no desire to watch it again. Where I would easily go back and watch either of the two Blades. We're going with ratings here. We're gonna go Blade 1 is best, Blade 2 is better, Blade 3 is the worst, which is typical for trilogies. But in the Blade trilogy, it really shines through. The third is the weakest link. It has interesting moments in it. It has moments that are fun, but it's just a very bland, dark, and just uninteresting movie at points, and it's all over before it even begins. Really, it feels like. And that basically wraps it all up. I mean, there's only 3 Blade movies. That's all we get. That's all we have. 3 Blade movies. I don't think any notable games, but at Blade, an incredible character. Whatever happened with Snipes in his personal life is a crying shame. But we could have gotten so much more of this just awesome character and this awesome setting. Uh, Snipes absolutely nails the role, and he is quite literally Blade himself as a person. So I mean, it sucks, but I mean, this is all we have. This is all we get. You got 3 Blade movies. The first is incredible, iconic. The second is a fun time. The third is good, but is also hampered a lot, especially by Reynolds. Blade is, it will always be out there for people to watch. Blade is a great movie on its own merits. You could watch the first one over and over and over again. Um, but it's what a crying shame we never got more Blade. And it's hard to imagine that it's been 20 years since we got a Blade Trinity. So Blade has been pretty much dormant for 20 years, and How amazing would it be if he came back in his modern form? There's rumors that it's in the new Wolverine Ryan Reynolds movie, but we'll see from here. I mean, what Blade really needs is his own standalone fourth episode, full on intensity. I think Snipes could pull it off. He seems willing to do it. How much of a dream would it be to get more Blade? And we may never get another Blade movie with Snipes in it, so for the time being, these three films are really all we have to go on. And they vary in quality, but overall, it's a fun fucking adventure. And actually, a perfect thing would be for them to make an awesome open world game, just full on Blade, but who knows if they'll ever do that. I doubt they're creative or smart enough to pull that off, but Wesley Snipes voicing the character and then modeling him, whew, that would be fucking awesome.